This is a city where we talk about neighborhoods all the time. We talk about it being a city of neighborhoods. But so many institutions and so many people don't really treat our neighborhoods quite that way. And in many ways, I think they don't really know what that means. I really think Life Remodeled is a kind of sterling example of how you can bring meaning to that this is a city of neighborhoods and that it needs to be a city of thriving neighborhoods. So explain the model and how it works and what you guys have been doing since 2010.
Oh, well, thank you for that. And I agree. Detroit is a city of neighborhoods. And we are at our best when our neighborhoods are thriving. And for us, fundamentally, before I talk about what we do, I always like to start with our why. And that is, we believe unequivocally that Detroiters have all the talent and all the ambition that they need, but many don't have access for opportunities to thrive.
Right.
And so our approach is ultimately about being able to remove the barriers and in many ways create bridges for those thriving opportunities. And we do that through a comprehensive long-term model called E3M. Sounds cool. But what that stands for is economic, educational, and environmental mobility.
Yeah.
So when we thought about what is it going to look like for us to restore that dignity, restore hope, but also drive some very strong metrics that represent growth. We knew, one, we had this great example of cleaning blight up in neighborhoods, right? And so we mobilized thousands of volunteers to remove blight, to remove environmental hazards, and to, quite frankly, bring city and suburb together, right, in a way that's reflective of that. So that's part of our environmental mobility profile. The reason I think that is quintessentially important, as you know, we're a city that was built for 2 million people.
Yeah.
Now, we're hovering around 650, 665,000 right now. I take my mother, for example, on her block, both to her left and across the street are empty lots.
Yeah, yeah.
And so being able to serve and really help our neighbors and our residents be able to have a very strong aesthetic in their neighborhood is important for pride. But we also knew that there's a lot of large vacant infrastructures that are in our neighborhood. I grew up as an East Sider, and some of the schools that I used to walk by at the time that were open and thriving are now closed.
Are gone.
They're gone. And what we found when talking with community members, when those schools close, they really send a dagger to the heart of the community.
Yeah.
Right? And so what better way, we thought, than to reintegrate pride and hope than to find new purpose for those school buildings. So both on the west side and on the east side, we've repurposed 2 active school buildings that were formerly vacant to what we call opportunity hubs. So people ask, well, okay, what's an opportunity hub? Well, it is a place that really is about aggregating economic mobility by bringing the best and brightest nonprofits in the region together, putting them under one roof, and helping us work collaboratively to bring investments, resources, and services to that immediate neighborhood. And so we've been doing that on the west side since 2017, and now on the east side, we're about to open this year with the old Dominican High School, which used to be the Winans Academy of Performing Arts.
Right. Those of us who are old enough remember when that was Dominican. Yeah. The work that you guys do doesn't take place without the community being involved with it. I mean, that's kind of where you start, is you go to these communities, you get people together, you talk to them about what's going on and what they want, and then you kind of help them build, I guess, the infrastructure to be able to move the needle. That's, again, a model that lots of people talk about, but you guys seem to have been able to be effective at it. What is it about what you're doing, I guess, that makes that work?
It's funny. I don't think that we're doing anything more than what I would want somebody to do for me if I was living in my neighborhood.
Yeah.
Right. One is about establishing trust. Detroiters are resilient, but Detroiters have also been through a lot, and there's been a lot of we're going to do this, we're going to do that, and then things start and don't finish, and or projects that started that wasn't when it was done, did not fit what its original intent was. And so there's some lack of trust and consternation there. And so I think recognizing that and honoring that is a big part of what we do on a continual basis. But the other part is really, to be frank, we are not the geniuses. The Mrs. Jones and the Mrs. Smiths and that have been living in their neighborhood for 50 years, the teachers who work in that community, the small business owners, the faith leaders, they know more about their neighborhood than we will ever do. So it makes sense for us to be able to tap into their genius, tap into their history, and to tap into their ambitions and the visions that they have for their neighborhood's future, and see how we can work alongside with them in making that vision a reality.
Let's talk about this new site over on the east side and the kind of realignment of the mission around it. What's going to change?
You know, it's interesting. When we first started our Durfee Innovation Society on the west side in 2017. You start something without really, you think you know what's going to happen, but you don't really know, right? And we've just been able to experience so many great success stories there, more than we ever thought. When we first moved over in that neighborhood in 2017, it has some of the highest crime rates in the city. Now it has some of the lowest crime rates. The home value of the surrounding neighborhood has increased by 36%, right? So a bunch of great things, and that made us think, you know, this is a model that can be replicated on other parts of the city.
Pick it up and drop it someplace else.
And our Eastsiders were always like, hey, when are you guys going to come and do something over here? So we had an opportunity to acquire the former Dominican high school and allowed for the community members to name it Anchor Detroit, or asked for the community members to name it, and they named it Anchor Detroit because they want for their neighborhood to represent stability and to represent a future. What's going to be different, I think, is the approach that we're taking to use our comprehensive model to cultivate what we call thriving class neighborhoods. Neighborhoods that are economically resilient, neighborhoods where people can raise their children, neighborhoods where people can build wealth, reinvest in their neighborhoods, and then ultimately find a future for their neighborhoods. And so we're really looking to scale our model by ensuring that all of the surrounding community members have a chance to really take full advantage of the resources that are in our opportunity hubs in a way that's going to make them economically, educationally, and environmentally mobile.
You know, I've had conversations with mayors and urban planners and all kinds of people who work on neighborhood revitalization, and they all kind of agree that the things you need for a neighborhood really to thrive are, you need a school, you need a grocery store,
food,
and you need jobs for people. How close are we in some of the places where you're working to actually seeing that come together?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's on a continuum.
Yeah.
And I think that we have to look at it that way. When we're not talking about neighborhoods and communities that reached the tipping point of disinvestment last year.
Yeah, right.
We're talking about disinvestment over decades.
Over, my lifetime, really.
You know, I remember, the neighborhood that I grew up in when I was young. It was highly populated. We had a dense population of working class families, many of them in the professional class. And for different reasons, as I'm sure you've talked about on this show, the complexion of those neighborhoods, including the one that I grew up in, changed. And so I think that the first thing to do is to really have a long-term view. This is not going to be a flash in the pan type of agenda.
Yeah.
This is going to be a comprehensive, we're all in on creating change in this neighborhood position.
Watch One Detroit, Thursday at 7:30 p.m. You can find more at onedetroitpbs.org or subscribe to our social media channels and sign up for our One Detroit newsletter.